Alright, good evening everyone. Name's Osei. I'm a senior economics tutor for OneClass. A little background about myself. I actually hold a bachelor's degree in economics, and I am currently working as an analyst for one of the 5 major banks in Canada. So today I'm just going to go over a couple of questions that were submitted, and they were answered by our junior tutors, and I'm just going to be walking you through how they arrived at some of their answers. So I believe we actually have 8 questions today, but 2 of them there's like multiple parts, or actually quite a few of them there's multiple parts, so we'll just dive right into this right now and start. Okay, this is one of them with the multiple parts. So, where's my pen? We'll call this is our question 1, even though it says question 10 over there. So, question 1 for us. When a marginal cost is greater than the average total cost, A, average total cost must be increasing with output. B, average variable cost must be decreasing with output. C, average fixed cost must be increasing with output. And D, marginal cost must be increasing with output. And let's see what our junior tutor said. Said the answer is A. When a marginal cost is greater than average total cost, the average total cost must be increasing with the output. We know marginal costs are additional costs to be borne by the producer for producing an extra unit of output, and average total cost is a total cost divided by the number of units produced. As marginal cost follows the law of diminishing return, so increasing marginal cost pulls average total cost up. Marginal cost cuts average total cost at its minimum, and when marginal cost is more than average total cost starts to rise. So I do agree with this answer, and this can also be explained by drawing a little graph. So let's do that right now. We'll call this over here marginal cost, and this over here average total cost. So we agree that the answer is A, average total cost must be increasing with output, and you could see that on the graph. So at this little point over here where they intersect, this is supposed to be the minimum point of average total cost. Even though my graph doesn't look like that, just it's supposed to be the minimum. And over here we see to the left of this, the average total cost curve is above the marginal cost, and while it's above, marginal cost is decreasing constantly up until it gets to this minimum point. And at this minimum point where marginal cost and average total cost intersect, you will see average total cost starts to rise as marginal cost is above the average total cost curve. So 10 is A, we agree with that. And then question 11, if a firm's demand curve falls below its average variable cost, then the firm should A, shut down now, B, operate in the short run but not in the long run, C, set price equals marginal cost, D, shut down in the long run. And let's see what our tutor said here. Said A, if the firm's demand curve falls below the average variable cost, then the firm should shut down now because it is not worth doing business when they're not able to generate variable costs from it. So it's time to shut down the business. So again, I agree with that. And basically, let's just erase this graph because we don't really need it right now. At the very minimum, demand should be greater than the average variable cost, because average variable cost is basically is the same thing as it's the same thing as average cost of production. So we know that most businesses, when they do start, they don't break even right away, but at the very least they should be able to generate revenue that should meet their basic costs of production. And if a firm's demand curve is below the average variable cost, that means that they're not generating enough revenue to cover their average costs of production. So they shouldn't really be in the business. They should shut down. So again, we agree with that. 11 is A. If a firm's demand curve falls below its average variable cost curve, then the firm should shut down. So question 12 here, this is all part of number 1 for us. The demand curve facing a perfectly competitive firm is A, upward sloping, B, perfectly inelastic, C, downward sloping, D, perfectly elastic. Let's see what our tutor said. He said it's D, perfectly elastic, and their explanation is the demand curve facing a perfectly competitive firm is perfectly elastic because, as we know, there are a very large number of buyers, and the sellers and homogeneous products are being sold. Each of them is insignificant to bring a change in the market price. Oh, I'm not even showing you this. I apologize. So we can just start all over again. Marginal cost curve is greater than the average total cost curve. When marginal cost is greater than average total cost, we said the answer was A, average total cost must be increasing with output. And let's just do a quick summary over here. And we showed this with the graph. Said this was MC, and this was AVC. It's not a good looking curve right there. Said this was AVC. So when marginal cost is greater than average total cost, this is average total cost. When marginal cost is greater than average total cost, this point right here is the minimum point for the average total cost. And as marginal cost is above, average total cost is always rising. So 10 is A, average total cost must be increasing with output. And that's what our junior tutor said. And then question 11 over here. Wow, just rambled for about just under 10 minutes without you guys being able to see what was going on. But it's okay. Question 11, we said if a firm's demand curve falls below its average variable cost curve, then the firm should A, shut down now, B, operate in the short run but not the long run, C, set price equals marginal cost, D, shut down in the long run. And our junior tutor said this was A, and I agree. If the firm's demand curve falls below the average variable cost curve, then the firm should shut down now because it is not worth to do business when they are not able to generate variable costs from it. So it is time to shut down the business. And again, like I said before, AVC is also the average production costs. And basically we all know whenever a firm just starts operating, they're not expected to break even in the first year. They might still be in losses, but at the very least, they should be generating revenue that should cover their average cost of production. And if you're not able to cover your average cost of production, you have no reason being in the business. And if the demand curve is below the average variable cost, that means that their revenues are lower than the cost of production. So they should shut down now. And we agreed that was A. So now that we're back. This is still question 1 for us. Question 12. The demand curve facing a perfectly competitive firm is A, upward sloping, B, perfectly inelastic, C, downward sloping, D, perfectly elastic. And I agree, it is D, perfectly elastic. And we're just going to draw what this curve looks like for you. And this would be the demand curve. This would be price. This would be Q. And our tutor said demand curve facing a perfectly competitive firm is perfectly elastic because, as we know, there are a very large number of buyers and sellers, and homogeneous products are being sold. Each of them is insignificant to bring a change in the market price of the product. Also, if the price of the product increases, the consumers shift to absolutely similar products in the market. So this shows that demand is completely elastic, responds infinitely to even the slightest change in price. And again, we just show that because all the products is being sold, because all the products that are being sold are exactly the same, if not very, very similar, then your demand isn't going to change with any relative change to price. So when that happens, you have a horizontal demand curve and it's just a straight line. So we agree that that is perfectly elastic. Question 13 over here. If the demand curve falls below the average total cost curve but lies above the average variable cost, then the firm should A, shut down, B, operate in the short run but not the long run, C, set price equals marginal cost, D, operate in the short run and not the long run. So I believe the answer should be B. It is B. If the demand curve falls below average total cost curve but lies above the average variable cost, then the firm should operate in the short run and not the long run. This means that in the short run, the main purpose of the firm is to cover variable costs and find ways to increase profitability to cover the fixed cost. But in the long run, they have to cover the total cost as well as make some profit, which is the purpose of running a business. So we agree with that explanation. And as we said in question 11 over here, in the short run, you're going to shut down if demand is below the average variable cost. Here, demand is actually above. So you could operate in the short run. But unless you're able to get your demand above average total cost in the long run, you have no business operating, because the whole point of creating a business, like our tutor said, is to generate profits. So the correct answer here is B. And the last question in this set is, at the output where marginal cost equals average total cost equals price, the perfectly competitive firm should A, shut down, B, it would have no economic profit, C, it is not profit maximizing, and D, it should raise output. And the answer here would be B, it has no economics profit. And it says where MC equals ATC equals P, the perfectly competitive firm has no economic profit. Economic profit is an abnormal profit, which is the difference between revenue minus explicit and implicit costs of the inputs used. The price recovered is the exact same as the cost, so at that point the firm only earns a normal profit. The long run equilibrium for the perfectly competitive firm This is the long run equilibrium for the perfectly competitive firm. This happens because of the free entry and firms exiting the market. And again, completely agree with that, because the main thing is I believe it's implicit costs that are variable costs, and that isn't being shown here, so they would have no economic profit when MC equals ATC equals P. So we'll say all correct, great explanation.